Okay. Lots ahead of us. Lots of good stuff. Lots of wonderful stuff. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad.Chabad, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome today John. Welcome, John, in North Carolina. Shalom, as always. And Carlos in Costa Rica joining us. Jeff, good morning to you in Michigan. Michael is with us in Germany. Clem in Brisbane, Australia, where it's very late. Simcha in Florida, welcome. Daphne is in South Carolina. Good morning to you. Leah, welcome. In Florida, likewise. Rivka is with us also in Florida. Okay. We have Liba and Davida in New York. We have Nicole, good afternoon. You have to remind me. Eugenia is visiting in Florida. Running away from cold Calgary. Miriam, welcome back in the UK. Deborah is with us in Kitchener, Ontario. Irina, boker tov to you in Colorado. Alisa is in Northern Maryland. Wow. Yohanan is in California. Cindy is in Florida. Ahuva in Seattle. Good morning. Did I miss anybody? Davida's and Davida mentioned. Denise in New Jersey. Up in Boulder, Colorado. We have with us Celeste, or better known as Chava. Diane in Arizona, good morning. Who else? Nicole is in Italy, welcome. In Louisiana, we have Mark with us. Oh, and we have a fellow Montrealer in Chamonix, Laval, Daniel. Welcome, thank you for joining. We have Marcy, Lewis, and Eliana, Michael, and Kayla May on Clubhouse. We've got Instagrammers with us. Alice in Baltimore. Akoy is in Peru. Marlene is in Florida. Benjamin is with us. Whitney, Leib Chaim, Yantitela Benta. Who else? Astro Stan. Okay. Beautiful. Leib Chaim is in Brazil. Okay, Stan. Rachel in South Carolina. And Whitney is in the Netherlands. Who else is with us? Astro Stan, is it? Or I can't remember. Is in Chile. All right, beautiful. Okay. Scott in Texas. We continue in the fourth chapter. Fourth chapter in one word, levushim, garments. Why is it the garments make the man? Well, think about it for a moment. Garments is a metaphor that we're explaining in this fourth chapter. Garments are something you can take on and off. Right? Then there's things you can't take on and off. You can't take off your skin on and off, right? You. In the soul, there's the you of the soul, which is your feelings, your emotions, and your intelligence, the way you perceive things. Well, that's not easily changeable. But you know what is easily changeable? Your thoughts, your speech, and your actions. You could choose, if you'd so like to choose the right thing to think, say, and act. So those are called garments of self-expression, just as garments express us. So likewise, our thought, speech, and action, they express us, thought to ourselves, speech to others, and actions likewise. But they're not us, right? They're only our garments. So what's more valuable, the clothes I'm wearing or me? Obviously me, more than the garments. The garments are there to serve me. But what we're going to learn now is in the metaphor that we're using, garments, for the divine soul, the nefesh elokis, its garments of thought, speech, and action, that means that the soul, the person's engagement in Torah and mitzvahs, in thought, speech, and action, is actually greater than the very soul itself. Which is counterintuitive. I mean, the soul itself, how could it be the thought, speech, and action is greater of the soul than the very soul itself? And when we speak about the very soul itself, we mean here the intelligence and the emotions of the soul, right? The 10 components that make up the soul, right? I mean, there is the essence of the soul. That's a different story. But the love and awe of the soul versus the expression of the soul through fulfilling a mitzvah in action, right? Giving charity, putting on tefillin, fulfilling a mitzvah in speech, like prayer, or fulfilling the mitzvah in thought, which is like now concentrating on what we're learning and comprehending it in thought. So the expression of doing that mitzvah in thought, speech, and action, or study of Torah, is greater than the soul on its own, meaning the comprehension or the love and awe of the soul on its own stead. Now, how do we understand that exactly? Again, just to bring it to the metaphor, it's like saying that my clothes are more valuable than me. So in the terms that we're explaining here when it comes to the soul, so there's the soul, and what is the soul made up of? Again, intelligence and emotions, so that the emotions, for example, of the love and awe that the soul has for God is of lesser value, lesser importance than the soul's self-expression of thought, speech, and action, of doing the act of giving, the act of or the verbalizing prayer. Now, verbalizing prayer is more important than the feeling in prayer. If you only have the feeling without the verbalization, that is. Of course, you have both together. So how do we understand that? So the Zohar explains that the Torah and God are totally one. Since the Torah is the wisdom and the will of God, right? It is one with God. As we learned in chapter 2, that God is the knower, the knowledge, and the known. So his intelligence, his wisdom, is bound up in one with him. So what does that mean? That means when I comprehend in my thoughts the intelligence of God, his teachings, I am one with him, right? Now, how do we get that exactly? How can I be one with him if God is infinite? I'm finite. In other words, seemingly Torah is infinitely beyond us. Again, because Torah is bound up in one with God. It's His divine wisdom. So in what manner am I able to comprehend it in my thoughts that I should be bound up with Him? So, the Alter Rebbe explains. He explains. What did God do? He took His infinite wisdom and, figuratively speaking, He kind of like compressed it and put it into a finite parameter. What is that finite parameter? 613 commandments of the Torah. And all of the laws, not only in the 613 commandments, but He compressed it into letters that make up words, that make up sentences, make up paragraphs, that make up the Torah's teachings. In other words, God took His infinity of divine intelligence, right, that we cannot comprehend because His thoughts are not our thoughts. His intelligence, not our intelligence. But what did He do? He compressed it, contracted it. Not contracted to make it lesser light. That sometimes when we speak about contraction, it means a lesser light. No, it remains infinite, but yet it now has finite definition. It's only 613 commandments, not an infinite amount of commandments, right? It's only letters, specific letters that make up a specific word in the Torah. And by we don't mean just the Torah of the 5 books of Moses or the 24 books of Tanakh, but we mean all of the oral Torah, the Haggadah, the Midrash, and everything. All of that comprises God's wisdom and His will, what He wants. And He contracts it in such a way that our intellect can grasp it and get it. But what are we getting? Not a ray of light of God, right? In creation, when God speaks the word and brings into being, a stone. So, or a tree, or an animal, or me, or everything and anything. There it's a contraction on the divine light. It's a minuscule light compared to the ultimate source of it. That's in the act of creation, but not in His wisdom of the Torah and the mitzvahs. Therefore, since He puts in His infinite being, His very core being, He compresses it, so to speak, condenses not not condense it that we're losing something, but that it's now in a limited form of 613 commandments of the Torah with its laws and all the Torah teachings and the mitzvahs themselves and the fulfillment of them. So now when we do a mitzvah in action, speech, or thought, right, we are bound up in one with God. As opposed to the soul itself. Aside from the soul itself, that the soul itself has a love of God, an awesome sense of connection to God. But that is limited to the soul as a created being in a body, and doesn't attach itself to the core essence of God. Only through Torah and mitzvahs that God, again, condensed, contracted, whatever, can put his very being into a limited form, into a box called 613 mitzvahs, all of the teachings that go with it of the Torah, which is not just, again, the 5 books of Moses, but all of the teachings of Torah, including Tanya, of course. And through that gives us an access to be connected to him. Therefore, the Torah is compared to water. What's the metaphor of water? Water top of the mountain is the same water at the bottom of the mountain. It doesn't change. As opposed to when we speak about creation, what's the metaphor? It's light. Light contracts. Light condenses. Light of the sun is, the sunlight. Not much sun here today, but the sunlight that comes through the window is a much lesser than, especially if you have the shade, a few shades, the light is very much condensed, and it's not the same thing the way it is above, right? Same thing as when a teacher teaches something. The light in their head is much more powerful than what they give over to another. They get a mere glimmer of the light that's illuminated in the teacher's head as opposed to the student, right? Therefore, Torah is metaphorically, in this instance, by the way, Torah is also like a light that illuminates our lives. But a different metaphor. Here we're talking about the Torah itself, not the effect of the Torah. The Torah itself is like water, because water at the top of the mountain is the same water at the bottom of the mountain, right? Meaning, God's Torah on high is the same Torah down here below. On high, it's something we could not apprehend, beyond us, but a journey that descended through Seder Ishtalshalus and a chain-like reaction, that it should be clothed in the material matters and things of this physical world, which then comprises the commandments of the Torah and its laws that are in physical reality of this world, whether it's, tefillin, the leather of the tefillin, the esrog, the citron fruit of the esrog, or money that's given for charity, whatever it is. Tzitzis of wool, tefillin of leather, all these things. They're concrete material expressions of a spiritual mitzvah. Right? And likewise, the very letters of the Torah, the Torah scroll. When you read from a Torah scroll, if the letters are not appropriately written, it's invalid. Because it needs to express the very divine. And this is what we say when we have an aliyah to the Torah, or morning blessings, actually. We say, Asher Kiddushanam Asher Natzon Lanu Es Torah, that he gave us his Torah. He didn't give us a sampling of his Torah. He didn't give us a glimmer of his Torah. He gave us his Torah. Asher Natzon Lanu Es Torah. So he gave us his Torah. Asher Kiddushanam B'mitzvah, that he gave us his mitzvahs. It's his. Right? So the Torah went and had a great descent, like water comes down from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain, but it remains the same water that allows that every human thought would be able to grasp the teachings. And even speech and action which are a lower level than thought, are able to grasp the wisdom of God, because in the wisdom of God, and that wisdom is God. And therefore, by performing the commandments in speech and action, we're bound up to God. And that's greater than the garments of the soul, which are, again, the self-expression of the soul, which is thought, speech, and action, than the soul's makeup of love and awe that it has, naturally for God. Phew, very powerful idea here to live with. Extremely powerful idea to live with. So, meaning that God's greatness is in his humility. That he can bring down the most loftiest thing, his wisdom that's beyond an infinite wisdom, and in his humility he brings it down in simplistic form. Simplistic that we can grasp it, we can get it. But in that, we're not missing an iota of him. We got him through that. It's in our lives, right? Sometimes we're in a situation where, you feel above and beyond. It takes humility to bring yourself down, to bring it down, the teachings, and that a child should understand, or someone who's ignorant. And you bring them to teach, they're not going to understand. No. In our humility, we have to take that which is on top in our world and bring it down into the world of someone else, and not to lose anything from it, of it. To say the same Torah teachings, the same water on top of the mountain below. It takes humility to bring it down. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Davida, does an unobservant Jew or Jews off the derech still have any connection with Hashem's Torah? Of course. We have a connection because we're connected. But that doesn't mean we realize that connection. So even if someone is not observant of Judaism, right, a Jew that's not observant of Judaism, first of all, they're still Jewish and have a Jewish soul. So they're connected. And they're just not expressing it, realizing it. And, that's why we have to reach out. Thank you, Davida. Good question. Anybody else? We had a wonderful TRC last night. Small group, but powerful. We will have another one Sunday night, 8 p.m. after Torah studies at 6:30. All right. 1 second. Liz, give me a moment. John has a question. Could Hishtalshelus be compared metaphorically to a computer operating system? Probably, because a computer operating system, at least the limited knowledge I have, is sort of like a linked consequential system. And Shtalshlus means chain reaction, right? The chain linkage, cause and effect. So, yeah. But so in the Seder Shtalshlus, sometimes it goes down and it becomes lesser, right, as a chain on the bottom. Excuse me. Is lower. What does that mean over here? So sometimes it's lower, and if the metaphor is light, so it's contracted. If the metaphor is like water, so it's lower but remains the same. Thank you, John. Luz, please share with us.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning,
everyone.
Good morning.
I have two comments, Rabbi. The first one is, I believe I have found your Tanya classes in Chabad.org.
Yes.
That's awesome. I like to listen to them. I like to listen to their lectures too.
Very good. Excellent.
So, yeah, all you do is put Tanya in the search bar. It comes up, and there is Ronnie Fine and a couple of other ones. Rabbis giving the classes in there. Linus Freeman in there.
Yes.
Good company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Rabbi, I'm trying to make sense of a thought that I have.
Go ahead.
We are a thought because Hashem has to, well, he doesn't have to, but he does recreate creation every day.
Right.
Now, the first question I have is, our thoughts are nowhere near like his thoughts.
Right.
Does Hashem create with thought, or does he have to use speech?
Excellent question. So, with regard, Luz's question is, does God create with speech, which is seemingly what we've always learned, all right? That's when we look in Genesis, God said, let there be light, and there was light, and everything else was through speech. Yet the soul, it says, comes through thought. We learned in chapter 2. That's the source of it. So, what does that mean? So remember that this is all metaphors, right? We have to remember, it's a metaphor. Right? God's speech is not like our speech. He's not speaking like we do, which we'll learn more about that later. Chapters 21, 22, and so on. So we need to make sure we have that distinction. So the metaphor of speech means that there's something comes out of you, so to speak, and it's not a part of you that allows that we should feel our independence separate from God. Ultimately, that we should come to try to find God, right? Thought, on the other hand, isn't separate from the person. Thought is revealing yourself to yourself, right? Unless you're a mind reader. But that's what thought is. So when God is revealing himself to himself, that's where the soul comes from, meaning it's a part of him. And that's the metaphor also, that he blew in a piece of him into our soul. And so again, that's bring out that metaphor. So ultimately, for something to exist of this world, it also came into speech. So the soul first comes from thought, right? The divine soul, that is. But then God said, let us make man, right? And he made man. So it also comes into speech. So the core of the soul is from thought because it's the inner dimension of God. And then when he wants to put it into a body, so now that soul becomes a created being, and therefore it's through speech. So it's both elements. I hope that was clear.
I think I get it.
Okay.
But it is all a metaphor.
All of this is a metaphor. And, absolutely.
And that's where the world goes wrong, because everybody is trying to visualize something that we cannot visualize because we're within it.
Yeah.
And we are a thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Lori has a question. Was the Torah known to the generations before the covenant of Sinai? Yes. Yes, there was Torah teachings. Not not in a manner the way we have it. The spiritual dimension of it, it was there, but not completely the way we have it. It was at Mount Sinai that it's specific. Yes. Thank you, Laurie. Welcome. Rachel. And I understand, Rachel, is it your birthday? Is that what I saw over here? It is Mazel Tov. When we bring down the teachings of Torah for the comprehension of others, can we then also elevate those other people by higher level through the example of our actions and mitzvahs? Do we elevate others? I mean, we might inspire others. You can inspire someone through your commitment and through your observance. You can only inspire another person. They have to do it themselves, meaning they have to do a mitzvah themselves, right? You can't merely elevate them by your doing something. And the only way you can do that is a soul that left this world. Then your mitzvahs that you do, especially if it's a parent, they get elevated through the mitzvahs that you do, because they can't do any mitzvahs. But someone here has to do the mitzvah themselves. Otherwise, they're not elevated. They can be inspired, but they're not elevated. That's why it has to be thought, speech, and action. Okay, excellent question. Thank you, Rachel. And if it indeed is your birthday, then Mazel Tov. Is it? Let me know. Chaim of Sunshine. Can you please private message me and about your question, and I'll help you out. Okay? That's on Instagram. All right. As always, amazing. So everybody's saying Mazel Tov. So Mazel Tov, right? 1 second. Oh, okay. 22nd of December, which is today, Rachel's Gregorian calendar birthday. But your Jewish birthday is on the 12th of Teves, which is in another 2 weeks, precisely. All right. But should have lots of mazel. All right. All right, beautiful. All right, folks. I'm Rabbi Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadesh. I can. It's a privilege and pleasure to share with you, Tanya. No TRC today. Sunday there will be. There's Rambam now. And we'll continue our conversation tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. And a Freilich Chanukah, the fifth light of Chanukah is tonight. The fifth light can never fall out on Shabbos. So we gotta illuminate this day. All the best. God bless you all. If someone doesn't have a Chanukah candles or menorah, Chabad can help you to make sure that they get. Okay? It's a mitzvah for every Jew to fulfill. God bless you. Be well.